Thank you for tuning in to visit with us today. I am Ron Gannett, one of the pastors at Community Church here in beautiful Saddlebrook, Arizona. And I've got a question for you. Do you recognize the guy who is sitting beside me? If you go to Community Church, you might see a little bit of his father, John Reed, Pastor John Reed. He and his dear wife, Lil, have been a part of our congregation for over 10 years and have made a significant impact here in blessing the lives of many, many people. And when I heard that their son, Brad, was going to be in town, I asked Brad if he could meet with me secretly without Pastor John knowing, because I knew that John might not allow this to happen. But I wanted to ask Brad a few things about what it was like growing up in a pastor's home and with John and even Lil. And so, Brad, it's good to have you here. Welcome.
Thank you.
Tell me now, where do you and your family live? And tell us about your church and your family real quick.
Okay, well, we live in California, Los Angeles area, and specifically in the city of Norwalk. I serve the Redeemer Covenant Church in Downey, which is part of the Evangelical Covenant Church in America. Smaller denomination, but dynamic.
That's great.
And I have been pastoring since 1986. And I've been at Redeemer since 1992. So this is my 20th year at the church.
You must wear well, 20 years.
Well, I try to. I hope so.
Tell us about your family.
Well, I'm married to my wife, Lisa. We've been married 22 years. And we have 3 children. Andrew, who is 21. He's a junior at Point Loma Nazarene University in San Diego. My daughter Bethany is 18, freshman, same school, Point Loma. And my son Tyler, just about to turn 15. And he's a freshman in high school.
Wow.
So there's the 5 of us in the Reed family. And of course, then I have my siblings. My brother Jeff, who's a pastor of a Covenant Church in Walnut Creek, California. My brother Greg, who is a school teacher in the East Bay area as well. And then Julie, who is also a teacher living in the LA area.
Well, what was it like being raised in the home of an Army chaplain?
Well, I tell you, these Army people, my dad ran a tight ship. And, well, put it this way. Our house was always neat. Matter of fact, my parents' house still is neat. It's that Army, that mentality. But I tell you, it was good. Because my dad would work from 8 to 4 p.m. during the day. And then when the clock struck the right time, he came home, and so we had good family time together. My parents were active in our lives. It was a great life. As a pastor now, I know that life can be very busy and demanding. A lot of activities in the evenings and a lot of meetings and people to visit or Bible studies or programs. My dad really did his ministry with the troops and so on during the day hours, and so he was able to be at home with us.
Well, how do you think your father has impacted your life as a pastor? He was a pastor, he was a chaplain, both, and now you're a pastor. How has being influenced by your father blessed you in your role?
Well, there's one word that I really think of, and it's the word faithful. My dad's a faithful guy. He's faithful, first of all, to God, to Jesus. He's faithful to my mom. He's been faithful to us as kids. And that just it really stands out. Mm-hmm. And if there's any impact, it simply was that, you take care of first things first. Mm-hmm. And he did that. And he modeled for me, and he modeled for my brothers and my sister. He modeled what it meant to love Jesus, to love the Lord our God with all of our heart. And he took it serious. And so he made faith real. And in doing that, he showed us what it means to be faithful.
Wow.
He showed us what it means to keep on going, to run the course, to always have that vision of the finish line. Never giving up, even when things were a little bit hard or when things were difficult. Keep on going. Faithfulness, endurance, perseverance. And so when I think of my dad, I just think he's like that Energizer rabbit, right? That keeps on going and going, and it's awesome. He still is going today, and it's really impacted me.
Well, he's still impacting our church in the same way. His faithfulness, the energy, the joy that he has for Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And I think that's a good way to look at it. What about your family? How has your dad impacted your family, you think? Your kids?
Well, I tell you, my kids love him, respect him. Just an awesome relationship, very close. I know when my parents come over to visit us and we're together, it's always just a real special time. My kids really look forward to it. But again, I think my kids understand what my dad's about. Mm-hmm. And they know that he's just, what you see is what you get. Mm-hmm. And my dad loves them. My kids love my dad, my mom. And it's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome.
That's great. What about your life personally? You're a man, he's a man. You live, they say we never really no one sits down and teaches us how to be a man, but you've had a model all of your life, an example in John. How has he impacted you as a person?
Well, I think I'm a lot like my dad in many ways.
Your mother says you're exactly like him. Go ahead.
That's kind of scary, but I guess, in just the traits of what it means to, first of all, to love God. My dad just kind of does it. And he's a very practical guy. And I think I'm pretty practical. I think that's rubbed off on me. I think when it comes to parenting, watching my dad, how he took care of us and the things he did, how he managed the household, how he was just responsible and on top of things. I think a lot of that, kind of the parenting stuff, kind of rubbed off. My dad's mellowed over the years,
Oh, really?
He used to, back in the day, there's one story where, I guess I did something and I lied, or I forget what I did, but I remember we had this paddle behind the door, this wooden paddle, and we knew that, if he gets the paddle, man, we're in trouble. And so I was preparing for that paddle, and I went to my room and I got on tons of clothes to pad myself, thinking he would never notice. Well, he did.
He did.
The paddle was the wrath of God in our family, but it kind of speaks to discipline, order, that military kind of thing. But it speaks to discipline in the sense of love. Yeah. So many families and kids and are without discipline, and there's chaos there. And so for us, there was order, but it came out of love. So it was pretty awesome.
That's great. Well, Brad, our time is up here, but if you could say one thing to your dad quickly, what would you look into that camera and say to your father?
Well, hey, Dad, proud of who you are, and I thank you for making a difference in my life, for modeling what it means to be a man of God, an awesome husband to Mom, a fantastic father for us. And thank you for modeling what it means to be a pastor, to be a practical pastor who just makes it simple, who does church and who loves God and who loves people. So that's awesome. And I appreciate that very much.
Well, thank you, Brad. Thanks for doing this for us. And, it's a reminder of what the Apostle Paul said. I fought the good fight. I've finished the race. I've kept the faith. Your dad and your mom have done all that, and I know they're pleased that it's continuing in you and the rest of your dear family. So let's remember, let's take the example of godly people like John that we've met and allow God to use it to bless and encourage us in our walk and leadership with God.